We're going to move very quickly into our guest speaker hour of the program. So as usual, these individuals were hand selected by our team because of the work they do in making peace building actionable, right? So today we have 4 guests who, like our audience, come from very diverse walks of life, yet somehow fit very, very well together. So first up, I would like to introduce Kavika Matos. Kavika, I hope you're here. I didn't even check, but I'm assuming, okay, Kavika's here. Kavika is the program supervisor and facilitator of the Kane Connections program, which is under the Maui Family Support Services, Inc. Kavika's passion to help families, especially to impact our keiki, includes working 20 years with kids ages 6 to 18. 6 years ago, he started working directly with adults, men, fathers, and male caregivers through his well-attended men's and fatherhood groups. And he also conducts parenting classes open to any caregiver wanting to learn early childhood development and better parenting skills. He's also Maui County's representative for the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood and currently serves as its chair. So Kavika, I'd love to hand the mic off to you. I'm gonna go ahead and unpin Carrie and Maya and pin you, and you have screen sharing privileges.
Beautiful. Good morning, everyone. I just logged on and I'm so grateful that I saw the video piece. So thank you, Carrie and Scott, for the invite, and good to be here with everyone this morning. I'd like to share screen. Hopefully this goes well. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Perfect. Thanks, Kavika.
I know I got only 10 to 12 minutes, and then I need to save a little bit of time for question and answers. Don't ask the hard questions at the end, okay? But yeah, so let me get started. Yeah, it's an honor to be here with you. I love what Seeds of Peace represents. My current work kind of ties into that in many aspects. I work for an agency called Maui Family Support Services that's been in Maui County now for 41 years this year. And the main thing that they do is early childhood education, although we do have a number of programs. And I work with the fathers, men in our community. I'm assuming that most people are from Hawaii. I'm not really sure, but if not, welcome. Welcome to our Hawaii time. Let's see. So Maui Family Support Services is where I work. I also work part-time at a treatment center called Aloha House. It's part of a larger behavioral health system where I do weekly life class and a cultural class for the treatment center. I've been up there for 6 years as well, supporting that. So it gives me a perspective of what happens when especially children do not have inner peace and the aftermath of adults struggling from 20 to 70 years old. I initially for 4.5 years, I worked with the men up there. The women felt jaded because they kept hearing from the guys what I do with them. And now I work with both men and women for the last two years or so. I work closely with probation, parole, drug court, and other private programs as well. So just so you can get to know me for a little bit. I understand today the theme is conflict resolution, collaboration, and compassion. That's so in line with my everyday life and what I believe. I don't have a job, although I do get paid, but I just absolutely love what I do. And for me, it was the journey that I've experienced as well. Healing and creating, I'm looking at the time. Healing, stop me. Can somebody call me out like 2 minutes? You got 2 more minutes? I'd be fine with it. I'm half Portuguese. I've got all kinds of nationalities that's known for Hawaii kids, but I'm actually half, so I gotta stay focused. My mantra is really healing and creating, is to start with healing and creating inner peace. And to me, it's to know and accept who we are, why we are, where we come from, our own history, and then the broader scale. Then understand where we are now, what value, experiences, lessons learned, talents we can bring, and how we can get to where we want to get um, to next, for ourselves, for each other, and our community. So just so that you can get to know me a little bit, just being a little bit intimate. I'm actually from the Big Island, Hawaii Island, the little town of Hilo. This is and I lived, what seemed like a typical local boy life. I was raised with faith. I was a backyard kid. My family did not do organized sports, so being a backyard kid, people used to call me the animal whisperer. I just love the animals. Surrounded by lots of cousins. My dad of nine siblings, we lived right next to my grandparents' house, so the siblings were always there. I had opportunities. I love music. I was in a few plays, selected. I guess I was pretty good, a behavioral kid in a way. So selected for a few plays, and that led me through my childhood. Most of you know about the ACEs study, the study done by the CDC and Kaiser Permanente back in 1995-97. The 10 questions they designed to see if child abuse and neglect was there a link to later on health challenges for the adults. This is something that I do on occasion with the people that I work with. I did tweak this a little bit so that each line is not identifiable. It makes it easier when we're in a group setting. That way, the person looking over the next person's shoulder doesn't know exactly what of these 10 spots. And the reason I bring this up is because although I just shared that brief few seconds of my life with you, and most of the time I was a pretty happy kid, absolute pleaser, one of 5 children, the middle child, and its dynamics. This little this reminds me of me often, hiding from my actual true emotions. And I can absolutely relate to this. This hits home for me. Why? Because although I shared with you the positive stuff, little highlights of me, my ACEs score is actually 8 of the 10. So doing this work, throughout years of trying to figure out why things happen and where I am today, it drove me to do the things that I do and still do and still feel passionate about. Now, what does that actually look like? Well, I'm assuming that there's a lot of teachers on here, but sometimes what we see, what's in front of us, is not what's happening, in each child's life. And I just did a presentation for another group called Naleo Kane this past Thursday, and they asked me at the end of my presentation and our presentation, what made the difference for me as far as who made a difference for me. And I remember the first thing I said, then followed up with my dad and my grandmother. But the first thing I said was my teacher, 5th grade, Mrs. Hara. And I don't know why, I can't remember why. But I was 5th grade, and all throughout my life, I remember that whenever I thought about who made a difference, it was Mrs. Hara. And perhaps it was just the kindness at the right time, the kindness when I showed up hungry and dirty, perhaps, I don't know. But teachers absolutely do make a difference, coaches, and just, people who care. I love this quote, that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that especially children, and now for me, even with adults, can become the best that they can possibly be. now being involved with Maui Family Support Services and working with parents, and I absolutely love and respect Carrie and the work that she does with early childhood action strategies that I'm a part of. I truly believe it is easier to build up a child than it is to repair an adult. So be careful of the words said, because for me, not just the physical abuse, but the looking back, the emotional abuse, the trauma just from that was pretty long lasting. And in essence, sometimes memories still come, and I still have to process through those things, especially because I become so vulnerable with the populations that the population I work with that I'm trying to help. The positive is, when I first took the ACEs test a couple of years ago, oh man, even if I don't have any issues, health issues especially, this sunk me to realize that I was 8. Personally, the reality of that. However, I did do a resilience test, and I was loved. I was cared for in many ways as well. So it's really I believe the resilience, helping kids to be resilient, that regardless of where they go, where they are and what they're going through, that people care about them and that they can get through that and be healthy human beings, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. When I think back, this reminds me of me as well, and there's many times. I think this was really my mantra, that a good way to forget your troubles is to help others. And so I began from real early this whole need to help people, because for those times that I couldn't help people, as a child, there's only so much you can do. So anyway, moving forward, in 1984, I graduated from high school and moved to Maui. There, I soon got married, came over to Maui to be with my wife. We got married, and then we immediately started family soon after. And the family then grew. We had 3 biological children. I fostered many kids for many years, especially the high-level teenage kids considered at risk, and adopted 2 boys who were 6 and 9. Today are 24 and 27, ages all the way to 34. So then the grandkids started coming, and that was super exciting, And my thought, I really believe that Ohana is the bigger picture. So today, a most recent picture, missing just a few, is that everyone is important, right? That's what my belief system is. Okay, let's see. I do 2 things: a men's group and a parenting class, as shared in my introduction. I use a 24/7 dad curriculum, a national curriculum, and it really talks about topics that most men don't talk about. It's great that it starts off with open-ended questions, and then we go from there. Now, people from the beginning, when I started this, especially friends and family, they would say, adults cannot change, especially men, local men, they're not going to change. Well, pre-COVID, this is a typical men's group where we were averaging 25 to 35 guys. None of them mandated to come. On average, there used to be on average, I have like 50 to 70 men considered active. Some of them come when they can, some of them come when they have needs. But, I really believe that, like myself, there are men who are wanting to improve, but where do they go? What do they do? The other thing that I do is a parenting class, and we use this locally created curriculum called Kamalama Parenting Through Hawaiian Values. It's written here by someone on Maui that's been in the field of therapy and human services. It's taking 16 Hawaiian values and relating it to parenting, understanding what these Hawaiian values are. And the reason that she created it is because oftentimes we're told This is the answer. Curriculums from people not from the islands, especially. And so, after years of trying to help local families with generational struggles, she came up with this curriculum called Kamalama, around the premise that we are all born as a bowl of light, pure from the source, but it's these stones, we call it pohaku, that gets placed into this bowl, and every time a stone, a pohaku goes into that bowl, not only does it become heavier, but it takes away, it dulls the light, right, dims the light. But the reality is, as the mo'olelo or the story says, you can flip that over and the light is still there. So what I like to do is, instead of just flip the bowl over, because sometimes we're gonna pull those rocks, we ourselves can put the rocks back in, is to go through the process of learning and changing and value that, for them to value their life. And then, of course, I go into weeks of, this is a three-month program, 12-week program, which I also include early childhood education, and childhood development, relationship teachings, and different things like that. So another well attended. I love the Hawaiian culture. My wife grew up this way. I didn't. But our children, we chose to put our kids in Hawaiian immersion. My son, my oldest, 34, he did graduate, and right now we have 6 grandchildren going through the Hawaiian immersion program. So when I think about, like, how do I actually help people? It's the concept of an ahupua, the land division system, in essence, of old Hawaii, how they shared land from mountain to sea with these different districts, and everyone had a role, like how we all have a role in our communities. And without each other, it would be difficult to function. And as the old Hawaii, you've got people working the mountains and in agriculture, the kalo patches, taking care of the rivers that led down to the sea. You got the fishermen. In essence, we all represent that and are an important piece of healing our communities. Each person, our families, and then our community. What I share with everyone is that whatever we do affects everybody, affects ourselves, affects our families and our friends, our neighborhood, our community. That's the premise of what I absolutely drill into the men and parents, the people in addiction, people coming from incarceration, in and out of incarceration, that they should accept that whatever they do is, in essence, everyone's business, because there is a cause and effect factor. Yeah. So teaching self-reflection is important. Helping them understand that their feelings and thinking, their actions really come from their core beliefs. It came from their experiences and what they learned through life. I teach them positive adult traits, and what does that look like? Because unlike me, like me, for a lot of these people, I saw lots of hypocrisy. I saw adults that I should have looked up to, that were closest to us, it's telling us, do as I do, but not as I say. And I hated that growing up. I kept saying, I'm never going to be like this. I'm never going to be like, this person, that person, and so forth. Let's see. Effective communication. I've had to learn how to communicate more effectively. My wife and I have been together for 40 years, married for 34. But we've had our struggles, as far as communication is concerned. So what kind of tools have I learned? And they can learn this too. It's just a matter of wanting to learn. Sometimes it's just a matter of having that available to them and letting them practice. Effective co-parenting, super important. Stuff like law of attraction and more. So I guess, in a way, as I've been told, I hold myself to a high standard, even if I didn't come from that. And I tried to mentor and try to create mentors for our community. And like Seeds of Peace, the main focus for me is to be compassionate, teach compassion, to be empathetic, and to give hope to people. One of my favorite things I like to talk about especially because I'm so big on the prevention of child abuse and neglect, is the idea of discipline. And what discipline is, straight up before, it was called cracks. It was called lickings, right? And then it changed to this word discipline, I guess, to make it more more prim and proper, I guess. But for a lot of people, they just say discipline is really, it means cracks. It does not mean punishment. Discipline means to teach. And so what does that even look like, though? For a lot of the participants that I work with, they don't know what that means, because they went through sort of, in many ways what I did too. So I share with them the difference, side by side, the difference between what punishment looks like and what discipline looks like, to positively reinforce the children and how possible that is to raise the children. I'll be honest with you, when I first started, I swore with Leah Bruce that I would not hit my kids, but without the tools, without the practice, I'll admit that it wasn't the way we got licking, got abused. But I did whack my kids with a slipper on their butt 1 or 2 times afterward I said, enough. But felt like crap after that, especially because I could remember what that felt like. So I wanted to learn new skills, have a new thinking. And today with our adult children, it's a beautiful thing that at least in our household, and we're part of a big family. My wife's family is huge, 10 brothers and sisters. We absolutely believe you don't have to hit your kids, and try to do positive reinforcement instead. So I am proud to say trying to change at least our family generation and our extended family and close friends, and helping them see that. Why? Well, because there's a cause and effect, right? But that there is the possibility of a happy family. Build a happy family. Because like me, for a lot of adults, a lot of that trauma continues and could even sneak up eventually, that affects our relationships and especially the people that we love. So many of you know the Lokahi Wheel created by Kamehameha Bishop Estates. So I teach, I kind of intertwine this into whatever topics we're talking about up at the treatment center, or even within my men's and parenting groups. And, for me, the two, aside from the experience of just today, so happy with my family, the one thing that really helped me believe that anything is possible is that today our language, our Hawaiian language, lives again. Most of you probably know that Hawaiian language was banned with the illegal takeover of America, with Hawaii, that banned it and made it outlawed to speak Hawaiian, to practice the culture. And back in 1987, when the Hawaiian immersion schools were created, starting with preschool, starting with early childhood development, the early childhood age kids. We went from a little handful of speakers to today, now 37 years later, thousands of people speaking Hawaiian, even outside of Hawaii, the continental US, and then also even in other foreign countries. So with that experience, I really believe that anything is possible, because my son is a graduate, as I said, and today we have children. My wife is a Punana Leo teacher, Hawaiian language preschool now for 20 years. And she loves early childhood, the early childhood education, children's education. So yeah, it's taking these values, these Hawaiian values, intertwining them or understanding them and how we can live, and how this is another form of lokahi to, the triangle, lokahi triangle, akua, the spiritual connected with the humankind, to man, to the aina, and how we need to take care of the earth. And these are some of the values that that we try to live so that we can bring peace into ourselves, into our families, into our community. I didn't think I was smart enough for this. And thank you, Carrie, and everyone else for early, especially through action strategies, and of course my job. We have many early childhood education the programs. Early Head Start is the niche in our community in Maui County. And so, going from learning from working with kids from 6 years old all the way through adulthood, and then now having this piece, and then of course now working especially with the addiction center, I really understand how crucial it is for us to make sure that children have this fresh start, now learning, now understanding and teaching about children's brain development and how crucial the early childhood age is for that development. I think because of so much licking, I didn't display an anger issue, but man, talk about the amygdala going off with a lot of people. So even like at the addiction center, the men's group, they understand. I help them understand like what's happening and how to maintain themselves as they start to escalate and maybe move into this fight or flight state, and how it affects our bodies, and how that ties into the ACEs study and how it can affect us, or there may be a coalition in the later years. So brain development, understanding our body is important. And that's why I do what I do as the part of the Hawaii State Commission on Fatherhood, living it as a father and now a grandfather, and helping to continue to nurture my sons with their children. I'm so proud of my kids and want to make it different, make it better for the girls and boys. And these are my, a little bit older picture of my grandsons at an event that we held on Maui. Moving people from comfort zone, walking them through, holding their hand to that fear zone, in the hope that as parents or just as people that we give them hope that they can go into a learning zone and a growth zone, and continue to stretch myself by learning, practically learning every day, and being an example of that is something that I share. And living the Hawaiian values. One of the Olilo Noiaus, the proverbs, the Hawaiian proverbs that I love is "Aohe hana nui ke aluia." No task is too big when done together. When we lau lima, many hands working together. And this is a recent picture of hukilau. Yeah, many of you are familiar. The idea of trapping when akule. This is a picture in Hana that was sent to me recently. When we work together as a community, rather it's the hukilau to share in the catch of the fish school, or like we're doing within our community. If we work together, then it's not so daunting, right? Not so difficult if each of us do our part.
Hey, Kavika, this is Scott. I just wanted to let you know. Yeah, you're good.
Perfect. I felt like I was going too fast, but but I think I'm in good timing now. So, and even looking at like tying in spirituality, which some people refer to as aloha, mana, pili uhane, yeah, and how it doesn't have to be a conflict. And I don't mean to offend anyone, but being raised with Christianity and now really understanding the Hawaiian culture, it's when we don't understand things that we can create a lot of challenges and difficulty for people. And so I can honor both. I try to live both, and why not? That's really what I share with people. Another, I'm going to share this. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I found this recently, and I just think this is such a beautiful thing. It's called Ubuntu, and it's a practice in South Africa. And I'll read this because the letters are so small. In central regions of South Africa, when someone does something wrong, He is taken to the center of a village and surrounded by his tribe for 2 days while they speak all the good he has done. They believe each person is good, yet sometimes we make mistakes, which is really a cry for help. They unite in the ritual to encourage the person to reconnect with their true nature. The, let's see, the belief is that unity and affirmation have more power to change behavior than shame and punishment. This is known as Ubuntu, humanity towards others. This is just beautiful. In closing, I take the Western frameworks, try to use the culture indigenous, and in this case, Hawaiian framework, and combine the two so that I can try to provide the best service, the best opportunity for the people that I work with. So I'm super excited that finally after doing this 3 years ago, we lost our funding. There's been 3 years of me going a month out with either going part-time or possibly losing my job because of the grant funding. And through a recent federal grant, I was just able to have bring on last week 3 full-timers. So to duplicate what I do is super exciting, and yeah, looking forward to the future. So with that said, thank you for sharing that.
All right, Kavika, really appreciate you. You were going a little bit over, but I was like, I can't stop him. This is too rich. I didn't want to stop you. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'd love to just make time for at least just one question. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw that in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself. But if there are no questions, we could move on. Kavika, would you feel comfortable putting your email in the chat? If anyone has future questions, they can reach out to you directly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It took so much time. I just realized.
No worries. No worries. We couldn't stop you.
I just want to also personally thank Kavika. Kavika is a key partner in our early childhood network, and to have dads that step up and lead and speak honestly and share personal stories and is just really fabulous. And Kavika, mahalo nui for sharing your Saturday morning with us and your mana'o. Deeply appreciated.
It was so beautiful. Thank you, mahalo.
Thanks, Kavika. Okay, so looks like there are no questions, but yeah, Kavika, throw your email into the chat, and for our audience, feel free to reach out to him directly. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna move on to Ali Silva. She is our youth speaker for the day. Ali is a senior at Damien. She's passionate about mental health advocacy. She's part of a local student-led mental health advocacy group known as Malama Us. Ali and her peers aspire to promote healthy coping skills in their community of Hawaii through service projects and social media. She's also served as a participant and teaching assistant in Ceeds of Peace's Girls Talk Back program, where she helps high school girls to launch peace action plans for their community. So Ali, it's great to have you here.
Hello, my name is Allison Silva. Hi, Mr. Scott. I just wanted to say, Kavika, that was so beautiful. It was a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing. So hello, everyone. I have participated in three youth leadership programs at Ceeds of Peace, and it has led me to develop Malama Us alongside 2 other passionate teenagers. And so what we strive to do is to promote healthy coping mechanisms amongst youth. And so last year, this project developed last year, but I think it was too broad of a topic of mental health advocacy. So this year we would like to promote healthy coping skills. And so our upcoming project idea, I will share my screen and provide a personal story. Actually, I don't really see it. Oh, sorry. Anyway, I don't think
you
it's
should be able to. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. I just don't really see the, sorry, maybe. Yeah, it's just not really popping up with the Chrome. But anyway, so personally, a coping mechanism that has worked for me is journaling. And I would like to share that with my peers as well. So I created a collage journal. I will just show a photo instead if you can see that. And so basically that is implementing art and journaling. And so what my peers and I in Malama Us would like to do is create collage journals, educate youth on the benefits of journaling and the overall benefits of coping mechanism, healthy coping skills, and then give them out as gifts, and maybe they can create their own and use journaling as a coping mechanism. There, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Coping skills. There is some research on coping skills. For some reason, I've had experience with this myself. Unhealthy coping skills tend to be more appealing. But those coping skills, they're temporary fixes and they provide long-term downfalls. So when you focus on a healthy coping mechanism, it may be uncomfortable and it may not be ideal in the moment, but it does have its long-term benefits. Some coping skills would be listening to music, dancing, using creative outlets like art, writing, poetry. Those can all help you. And yeah, sorry, a little nervous. It's been a long day.
You're doing great, Abby.
So with Malama Us, we'd like to not just focus on journaling, but maybe around every month, focus on one coping skill that we can educate youth on, and then promote that coping skill. So how we'd like to educate youth is through going to schools maybe, or hosting online events where we can get research-based information on the benefits of coping skills in general and the benefits of the coping skill that we will be promoting. And then give out a gift as a way to, just give a gift of the coping skill, like the journal, to give them a head start. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ali. And what Ali didn't mention is that her group has already done a lot of work. She talked about what they're gonna do, but they've ran that the Malama Us event last year that attracted, I don't know, maybe like 100 participants. It was a youth-led conversation on mental health, and they brought in awesome guest speakers. They've also organized this really awesome cross-school partnership between different students. Ali, I think there are probably like 5 or 6 different schools represented, right? And you folks came together and planned this cross-school thing when most of these kinds of efforts happen within one school. So yeah, Ali's been really awesome, and we're always really inspired by Ali. That's why we always ask her to be a TA for our program. Yeah, so thank you so much, Ali. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or should I open up for questions?
Thank you. Yes, we do have an Instagram that we're currently rebranding right now, but I will put in the app for contact information. Thank you so much.
Ali, thank you so much for sharing. We were just talking about the importance of youth voice for other youth. And your voice is 100 times more powerful than any of ours. So thank you for lending your innovation skills and your leadership skills and your voice for your peers. Really fantastic. I'm excited to follow Malama Us.
Thank you.
Really great. Yeah, really grateful. Thank you for being here and for sharing.
Thanks, Ali. Does anyone have any questions for Ali? And Ali, if you'd like to throw your email in, or if you'd like people to direct questions to me and I can forward them over to you. Totally up to you. Yeah. Awesome. Nicole said, just looked at Malama As's IG. Looks like great tips to share. Agree. Okay, if there are no questions, Ali, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your weekend. And we'll be in touch about Girls Talk Back soon. Thanks, Ali. All right, so that was Ali. Next up, we are gonna move on to Dr. Geetha Murali. I hope Geetha is, yes, she is.
I am.
So, hi Geetha, how's it going? Let me just do a quick intro and then I'll hand the floor over to you.
Sure.
So Dr. Geetha Murali is the Chief Executive Officer of Room to Read, a leading international education organization that believes world change starts with educated children. Room to Read's quality programs have reached 20 countries and benefited more than 23 million children to date. Geetha joined Room to Read in 2009 and has over 20 years of diverse experience across the corporate and nonprofit sectors. She's responsible for 1,600 employees worldwide and a global network of boards, investors, and volunteer chapters. Geetha is a member of the Forbes Nonprofit Council, a social impact officer and member of the Young Presidents Organization, and it's been recognized by Wired as a leader who will shape the next 25 years. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Geetha. Thank you for being here.
Of course, Scott, I'm thrilled to be here and thank you all for having me. It sounds like you're a little bit behind, so I'm going to try to keep my remarks brief, but happy to answer any questions and share more afterwards if we run out of time. I just start by thanking Scott, Maya, the Seeds of Peace community for having me here today. I'm honored to have the opportunity to share a little bit about Room to Read. Our organization's values are incredibly aligned, of course, both being focused on raising peace-building leaders, giving young people the life skills to make informed decisions and better their communities and their world. To give you just a little bit of background on the organization, we are focused on creating a world free from illiteracy and gender inequality. And as Scott mentioned, we have 1,600 staff. 88% of them work directly with schools in the countries where we work. And by the end of this year, we will have reached just shy of 30 million children with our programs and have a goal of benefiting 40 million children by 2025. I wanted to just give you a little bit of background on the programs themselves and how they're structured. We work with governments in the public school system to create systemic change. So the programs that we develop are ultimately geared at enhancing the entire system to reach more children more quickly. On the literacy side of the house, we support children to become independent readers and lifelong learners. The program includes the training and coaching of teachers, the creation of quality books and curricular materials, and we establish libraries filled with children's books in local languages that can be enjoyed at school or at home. We also partner with the local community, the government, and the publishing industry more broadly to test innovative models that will help provide local language books in the market and ultimately help children succeed in school and develop a love of reading. In our girls' education and gender equality portfolio, we make sure that girls build the skills they need to succeed in school and to have the life skills that they need to make important decisions in their life as they transition out of school. So that program includes both mentorship and peer support, as well as family and community engagement. But the work goes further by supporting young people of all genders to build the knowledge and skills they need to create a gender equal world. I think the most important thing about us, though, is that we're a learning organization. Our programs aren't static. Through partnerships like those that we have with Maya over the last few years and other organizations, we continue to learn and evolve our programs such that they can be best suited to children's needs at any given time. And as we know, the world is unpredictable. So it's important to ensure that we're serving children wherever they are in whatever channels are most accessible to them. And so the most important part of the work is that the programs work. Children on our literacy program read 2 to 3 times faster than their peers. And when we survey young women on our girls' education program, graduates 5 years removed from programming, 93% are either enrolled in further education or have found employment. And this is particularly important because most of the girls that we work with come from communities that do not transition into tertiary with larger than 10 or 20% rates of transition. So this is pretty considerable in terms of the transformation we're seeing. So given our collective focus on creating a more peaceful world, I thought I would focus on insights into our book publishing work and maybe just make a few comments about the intersection between equality and peace based on how we've developed our programs. On the book publishing side, we work on bridging cultures through storytelling and showcasing the importance of diversity, taking children outside of their typical frames of reference. As we all know, stories can empower us to build compassion and connection, to understand one another with different or opposing views. And we see books as a window that can transport us into realities far from our own, as well as being a mirror to help us understand ourselves. And we know that books can rewire our brain for emotional intelligence, allowing us to empathize, and offering children a view outside of ourselves. So stories in which characters undertake critical thinking or navigate conflict resolution, they're teaching and inspiring children on our programs to approach really challenging interpersonal situations with courage. We know that books can provide young children their first sense of identity, and it's incredibly important in communities where we don't see print a lot to make sure that children have that access to children's books. And many of the communities we work in, creating children's books is not profitable, and so you won't find children's books on the market that are best suited for the young people that we're trying to serve. And so this is where Room to Read comes in. There are millions of children around the world who don't see themselves, their families, their cultures, their life experiences reflected in books. And studies are showing us that in some cases, animals are the second most represented character in children's books, next to white characters, for example, when we're looking at our communities. And we can recognize that the need is great to make sure that there's more diversity in children's books. We did our own study recently to look at the United States in particular, and that study highlighted learning inequities where children have limited access to reading materials, book deserts, including children from Black, Latinx, Native American, White American communities. High levels of poverty in rural environments, of course, create extreme barriers to learning. And so one of the areas that we focused in the US is largely around the creation of books focused on peace and equality. And those books are all available on our digital platform, literacycloud.org, where you can see books from all over the world. We publish in 43 languages, and the platform itself is in many of those languages so that they're accessible both to the government system and the families that we serve. So I'm going to stop here and give you one example of our storybooks. This one is called Colored Hills, and it was developed for refugee children living in Jordan. Scott, if you're able to just show this clip.
Got it. Just a sec. Let me just share my screen. And Geeta, you wanted from 352, yeah?
Yeah, just a couple of minutes.
Another book I really love has another universal theme of childhood, which is learning about people who are different from you. It's a wonderful story where there is a village where everything is yellow, and a little creature is playing with his yellow ball, and one day it rolls into the valley. And he runs after it and sees in the valley another little creature with a blue ball, and he can see behind him that his whole world is blue. And so they look at one another and say, we both have a ball, and we both like to play with our ball, but yours looks really different from mine. So they switch balls and take them back to their respective villages. And they confuse the elders, like, what is that? What is that strange ball? And eventually the two cultures meet, and they find out that one of them can dance really well. And they say, I don't think that culture will be able to dance like we can. And it turns out, of course, they can do the dancing. And then the other group makes these funny sounds and says, well, you can't make the same sounds that we can make. And you see, oh, yes, they can. And eventually, you see them all playing together. They decide to have a big football game all together. And the ball there is green.
this is a first step towards many of the authors who participated in this project to write more books, also for the illustrators who participated. I think we're looking at a brighter future.
All this project, it's a good deed. Like, it's something really needed here in our country, like the books, and for those children, I'm blessed to be part of this project.
That's fine.
سيادة الوزير دكتور عمر الرزاق.
So you get a sense of how storytelling is helpful for children in terms of helping them consider others' behaviors rather than dismissing the differences that we see. This is just one example. That was Alicia, the head of our book publishing program, who was sharing a bit more about that project. On the gender side, I just want to touch briefly on that work as well. We know that there's a considerable intersection between gender equality and peace. Societies that oppress women are far more likely to be poor, violent, unstable. Research shows us that there's one paper in particular that we've been citing recently where there was a compilation of a global index of pre-modern attitudes to women, including sexist family laws, unequal property rights, equal early marriage for girls, polygamy, bride prices, you name it, even legal indulgence in gender inequality, for example, whether, let's say, a rapist can escape punishment by marrying their victim. These types of studies show that it turns out that violent instability is directly correlated to how gender equal a community is. And I've asked dozens of girls in our program what they would like to be when they grow up, and I'm always struck by their commitment to using the power of their ideas to create a more equal and peaceful world. Whether they're looking to be a teacher or an engineer or a doctor, they're all dreaming to be in a position to make a positive difference, not just for themselves, but for their communities. I'd like to end with one quick read aloud of one of our books that is from Indonesia. And this is a book that is being read by one of our partners in Kappa Alpha Psi, one of the oldest Black fraternities in the United States, where the brothers read books to young children across the US in public schools as part of their volunteer efforts. And this title speaks particularly to breaking down the binary of ability and disability. So with that, Scott, you can start this one.
Hello, my name is Derek Rush, and today we will be reading I Like Your Way by Audelia Augustine and illustrated by Wastana Haikal. Reno is going to Ali's birthday party. Worry comes too. Let's go together, Reno. I can guide you. No need, Worry. I know the way. Hey, why are you sniffing? Am I smelly or do you need help? No need, Worry. I know the way. Yum, satay. That must be what you have been smelling. That is the clue for you to turn right, isn't it? Your way is great. You sniff for aromas to tell you which direction to go. Why are you stopping, Reno? Why are you holding that wall? Are you dizzy? Let me help you. No need worry. I know the way. Oh, this wall is different. It is the only riverstone wall around here. This is the clue for you to turn to your left. Your way is great. Touch, touch, touch. Feel the surface and you will know which direction to go. Watch out, Reno. There's a puddle. Let me guide you. No need worry. I know the way. Wow, you can go around the puddle even though you can't see it. Your stick is really helpful. Woof, woof, woof. Watch out, Reno. The dog is stuck. Its head through the fence. Yes, I already knew, Worry. The dog's bark must be a clue for you to go ahead. You know a lot. Listen, listen, listen. You pay attention to the sounds. They tell you which direction to go. Hooray! We have arrived at Allie's house. Let me guess what we are eating. Sticky rice, fritters, and shaky flowers. I know what you're going to say, Wuri. Taste, taste, taste. I know what we're eating by how it tastes. This is my way, Wuri. I like your way, Reno.
Thank you. So I think it probably gives you a sense of the types of books that we publish. I should say that all of our books are created by local authors and illustrators in the countries where we operate. And we train and find talent and help to build the local children's book publishing industry so that there's a sustainable path to ongoing children's books at high quality for the communities that we serve. So I think I'll stop there. I think you're at time, but I'm happy to take some questions and see if there's anything else I can share about our work.
Oh, thank you so much, Geeta. Yeah, just a reminder that representation matters and the content in our kids' books matters. Just a real quick comment in that class Carrie and I are teaching. One of the first things our students talked about was the fact that most of the books that they read in school are written by white cis authors, and that's something they want to change. So we know that youth are starting to speak up and realize that that's what they want as well. So thank you so much for being part of this. It's really important and beautiful work. I'm checking the chat right now to see if there are any questions. I'm seeing a question from Carrie. Do you do any programming in Hawaii currently?
We do not yet. However, we are working with Maya to have her book made available. And I think in that context, we may look at finding some more titles that we can create and make available. It's definitely an area of interest for us.
Exciting.
It's just enormously important that this work happens, that we kind of expand our umbilical stories and that we see myriad ways of being and, you know, are able to hear and benefit from these stories of distant and different others. And then the work that you do to bring community sourced ideas, solutions, and images from spaces that have too long been invisible is incredibly vital. So thank you. Really grateful for your work in the world.
To you as well, Maya. Go ahead.
Sorry, one more question. Jesse asked, can schools apply for book donations?
So we are currently, this is our first year creating and distributing in the United States. So we are looking at partnerships right now for distribution. I can make sure that my my email address is available, and we'll see if we can. Ideally, we're looking to find. There was a question around coalitions, coalitions of organizations that can take larger book donations so that they can distribute directly into communities. We have found over the years that when we go directly into some systems, there's some inefficiencies in book stays in warehouses. So we're really looking for people who are working with the community directly and can use the books most effectively.
Wonderful. And Geeta, I'm seeing other people in the chat chiming in. Iman is an illustrator, so he would love to connect with you. And Jennifer would like to connect with you as well. She wants to connect you to the director of the Sidewalk School for Migrant Children in Northern Mexico.
Yep, I've just put my email address into the chat. If you can drop me a note, I'll connect you to our project manager for the United States. She's in the process of building out our partnership. So we'd love to learn more.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Geeta. I know you're such a busy person, so we really appreciate you taking this time to be with us this morning. And yeah, we'll be in touch. We're excited to collaborate with you in other ways in the future.
It's a pleasure to be with all of you, and congratulations on your work as well. We look forward to partnership.
Thank you, Geeta. All right. So that was Dr. Geeta Morali. And finally, we'd like to move on to our final guest speaker, Brad Kusunoki. He's also one of our facilitators. And typically we, find outstanding teachers and educators from the community. And we thought, why, let's just look within. We have this awesome crew of teachers and counselors who work with us already. So a really quick intro to, I love Brad's intro. So Brad Kusunoki
you can skip
is a school counselor.
You can skip my intro.
Okay, well, the last thing
Yeah,
is,
we'll just get to it.
Yeah, he's a UH football season ticket holder for many years, and he hopes the team will once again return to glory days as it was in 2007. So, thanks, Brad. Go ahead.
Start off with a joke that my son shared with me the other day. Why are math books so sad? And the answer is because they're full of problems. So, all right. I've been fortunate enough as an educator and all of the school counselors and educators that are participating in today's workshop, as well as the last, I believe, 7 years that Carrie and Maya have graciously invited us along for the ride for basically for free. Every single workshop that I've been at, and my colleagues, Steve Chinen and Nicole can probably agree that every single workshop we've been at, we've got great things that we use daily sometimes at our schools. So as I guess to pay it forward and as a way that I can show them our appreciation for what what we've been provided through Seeds of Peace, I'm going to talk a little bit about what school counselors do, because I'm sure majority of the people on earth don't really know what we do. Okay, first of all, classroom teachers are the front line of defense at schools, and they are the most important, and they are the rock stars of schools. They take care of everything. They are the first ones to take care of everything, and they take care of majority of the problems and issues that come into the school. So I don't want to take away from classroom teachers, because they deserve all the recognition, and they deserve to be millionaires for what they do every day. And pretty much every single educator in this country is not doing their job for the money, as obvious from what everybody probably has heard. They're doing it for the love of the kids, and the love of their communities, and the love of the world. They want to see the world to be a better place, and that's one of the biggest things and why you're a teacher and why you stay with being a teacher. Because showing up for the second day after your very first day ever of teaching is really hard, and if you come on back for the second day, you are a rock star. So with Christmas coming along, I know a lot of teachers will be getting lots and lots of Starbucks cards or Jamba Juice cards from their kids. They deserve it. Okay. Now, what is a school counselor? We get a bad rap from things you might see in TV, the movies, and some things that you've heard in the past. So I want to share what we do. So my presentation is going to be like 2 parts. There's going to be one part which is real technical about what it is that we're supposed to do, and then what it is that we actually do. So there we go. All right, so on this, what is a school counselor? I have a little picture there. Charlie Brown, with Christmas being around the corner, and a lot of Peanuts specials on TV. There are about 5 different things wrong with this picture. Although, like, a lot of people think a psychologist and a school counselor is represented by Lucy. First of all, we are not doctors. Actually, majority of us are not doctors. Some of us might be. Second, 5 cents. If we really were doctors and we were charging for our time, the go-to rate for a session with a school counselor or a psychologist is $300 an hour. Third thing, she's sitting in a booth waiting for problems to come to her. Fourth thing, it's very reactive, so she only sees people that come to her. And then the fifth thing is that she's very mean to Charlie Brown. Okay, and she's probably the reason why he needs to get some psychiatric help. Anytime that you're playing football and then someone says they're gonna hold the ball down for you and you're gonna kick it, and they pull it away from you, like why would I want to go talk to her? She's the one that's causing my problems. Okay. When people say what is a school counselor, what they do, they're shown this. I think it's called an anagram. And so it's a gigantic puzzle with a bunch of words, adjectives, nouns. It says, oh, this is what a counselor is. I'm like, oh, okay. I have no idea what. If I was a parent, I would have no idea what that means. So I'm going to go into a little bit about what we do. Although every single word on here is representative of what a school counselor is. So, and there's probably more words. If this page, if I could shrink the font down to like 0.001, then maybe it can fit all the words of what a school counselor is. Okay, our training. We have master's degrees. We're trained in all of these things. We're guided by standards, but we are not experts. Although we are trained in all these things, we are not experts. We're not therapists. Okay, and some people think that we are the fix. We can solve every single problem at school. I wish we could, but we are trained in ways to help people to find out or to put people on the path to get the help that they need. This is a general definition of what we do. We address the developmental needs of all students and not just kids that need help. Okay, some people think that it's just kids that have problems that are serviced by counselors. It is everybody. Okay, and we work with everybody in the world to help to do what is needed to get people help using a comprehensive school counseling program. And this is a little logo about what our school programs should be like. It's called the National Model: Foundation, Delivery, Management, Accountability. I'll go through it real quick. I'm going to skip through these slides because I don't want to read everything. Our foundation is built on we collaborate with our schools, whatever our school's mission, goals are what we want to have the kids do. We work with the school and we develop our own foundation for each of our schools. And it's primarily based around social emotional learning, academic development, and career and college readiness. How do we do all this? Direct and indirect services. Direct services, which should consist of 80% of our days, are individual counseling, group counseling, general school guidance classes, and other programs where we're directly working with kids. Indirect services are working with people to help get these programs in place, and like 1,000 different other things, which if you want to know more, you could ask a school counselor sometime later. Management. We work with people to figure out what is needed and to help the people we work with. It's not just we just go in and we just do our thing and we leave. We talk to teachers, we talk to parents, we talk to administrators, we talk to community resources. We talk to the Department of Health, the police sometimes, any agency, every agency that's available within the state or that at our disposal. We work with them to help a kid to be happy. Data is a big thing, and one of the things that is like more focused on today than it was 50 years ago. 50 years ago, you could go in as a teacher, say, I'm going to teach this and this and this and this and this. If they don't get it, they fail. It's not how it is anymore. We need to address the needs of every kid by using data. How do we use data? I wish we could just give them a test and they answer the questions and we know that, oh, you need help with fractions, you need help with decimal points, but that's not how it is with social emotional learning. How you get that data, you have to be creative in ways that, well, in ways that you can think of. Okay, so not every single way works for every single situation, which is why collaborating, conflict resolution, and having compassion is a very important part of our job. And that, I think, is today's focus of our workshop. So conveniently enough. This is what my ideally daily schedule would be. It is never like this. The only thing that is accurate is 7 o'clock I arrive at school. And then after that, I haven't followed this kind of schedule in ever. There's always something that comes up. What comes up? Well, here's a list of activities that I would like to do, and here's a list of activities I don't want to do, but I have to do anyway. Because how can I say no? Or how can we all say no? If someone needs help and they're reaching out for you, how can I just walk by, especially if they're 5 years old? Okay, so I'm not gonna go through all of it. All right, here's a nice little picture of the Northern California forest. Oh, so beautiful. Nice lake, nice sky, trees are all green. And if you pay attention to the news or read the newspaper, or even just sometimes go outside and just breathe the air, you know that this is not how the Northern California forest is probably right now or in the summertime. But this is, I put a picture of this on here because this is kind of like how the school is before school starts, right the day before school starts, the first day, like back in July or August. It's a nice, okay? And then what happens? Well, I don't want to put a picture of what happens, but you can imagine what this would look like in the summer. It's on fire, and there's not just one fire. The entire thing is probably on fire, and even that lake, the water catches fire, and that is what a day in the life of a school counselor is. Like, you go to the school and it's like this, and the thing is completely on fire, and there's only one of you. Okay, what do we do? How can we be expected to put out every single fire? It's very daunting task. And sometimes people will cry and hide in the bathroom and like, I can't do this. But we don't do that. And not just the counselors, but the teachers as well. We go in and we start one tree at a time and put out every single fire. And if I'm responsible for putting out the fire on the trees, and I walk by and I see that lake on fire, if I can, I'm going to go and help it. Might not be in my job description, but I'll go help them. All right. And at the end of the year, the fire goes out and we just try to rebuild. Here's a little graphic about what else we do. Every single one of these things in this picture is something that I've done. Again, if I could shrink the photos to be like real tiny, I could fit every single picture of everything I do on there. Enough said. All right, last thing, how do you find a school counselor? The great thing about us is that we are at every single school in the country, and I think the world, or if we're not actually there, we are available. Number one, how do you find us? We will find you. You can put out a bat signal, but for me, I've been at my school for a long time, and for my colleagues on Zoom right now and teachers as well, we've all been at our schools. We've established ourselves. People know us. We know them. We can tell when there's a problem, and we will do everything we can to help. The other thing you can do, if we, for some reason, we cannot get to you, which a lot of times we can't because we're so busy putting out all these fires, just ask. Okay? If you have any questions about my presentation today, or you want to know what school counselors do, I'm sure everybody here has a child in their life somehow. It might be your own child, a friend, a relative. Call their school. Let them know, I am the relative, I'm a friend of so-and-so. They go to your school. I would like to know information about what it is that your school counseling program offers and how you can help me. And they were more than happy. They will be more than happy and willing to help you, because that's what we do. We might not be able to get to you right away, but we know you're calling. We'll be there to help. Okay, and it's not right away. Sometimes these things take years. And as an elementary school counselor, I get kindergartners and pre-kindergartners that they come into the school. They have a lot of issues. They have a lot that we have to work on, and we work on it, no matter how daunting. And by the time they leave our school, hopefully after 6th grade, they're a better person and they're happy, like these kids in this picture. And that's, in a nutshell, that's what we do. So if you have any questions, I'm going to skip that part. Like I said, call the school that you're nearest to, or talk to a parent, and call the schools. They'll let you know what to do, because not everyone is exactly the same. Everyone is different, and every counselor does a million things in different ways. There's no right way to do it, but they're working hard. And we don't ask for any rewards, and we are not the rock stars. We're all behind the scenes, and we don't get recognition. It's because we want to help, and we want to help the teachers who are the rock stars to help these kids to move on and grow up and to contribute to our society in productive ways and be happy ultimately. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Oh, thank you so much, Brad. I can't believe we've never asked you to share before. We're going to have you share every year from now on. That was awesome. Really appreciate you. I have a newfound respect, not that I didn't before, but I have a higher level of respect than I ever did before for counselors. You folks are the ultimate helpers, ultimate collaborators, ultimate superheroes or Batman on campus. So yeah, I really appreciate what you do. I know you said you wanted to skip the questions, but I do want to see if anyone has any quick questions they'd like to ask Brad. And if not, Brad, if you want to put your email in there, that would be awesome. But yeah, thank you so much, Brad. You've been a special part of the Ceeds family for a long time, and I didn't know about all the stuff that you do, to be honest. I know you did a lot, but not quite this much. So thank you for sharing that. Carrie and Maya, did you have?
Yeah, I just want to really thank all of our counselors and our teachers and our facilitators who have been with us for 7 to 10 years. It's amazing. They have been at the table every single year helping us. And so I just really want to thank all of you. And I appreciate what Brad said about every child's different, every family's different. And it's the approach to Ceeds as well is, every community, every school, every family has their own unique context and situation, and which is why we do tailored action plans and why we don't have boxed solutions. I wish we did have boxed solutions that could work for everybody, but that's not how people are. And so Brad, thank you for highlighting that critical importance of every situation is different. Every child has a different unique set of needs, and just a real mahalo to all the teachers on the call. I know this has been such an incredibly difficult time, and I feel like even now, as we're coming out of COVID-19, the exhaustion's hitting so many. And so just a really deep thank you to everyone that shows up every morning at 7 o'clock, 7:30, and is doing extra work at night and on weekends to support our Keiki. Thank you.
Yes, I want to just add my mahalo. Carrie said it all and said it well, but I just want you to know how much we, all of us, really do appreciate and value your tenacity, your commitment, your contributions, and your aloha for the Ceeds of Peace family and all of the keiki you work with and families.
Oh, yeah, I echo Carrie and Maya. Thank you folks so much. It's been a while since we've taken, or we haven't even taken a break yet. So let's take a quick break, 10 minutes or so. And even beyond that, if you'd like, feel free to get food and drink and eat at your computer. Let's try to return at about 11:32, and we will dive into our action planning groups for the rest of the day. Okay, see you folks in 10 minutes.